When people ask me, what's the biggest fear in life? I often hear the same answers: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of change, fear of the unknown. But let me tell you something today: the future has never belonged to the fearful. It has always belonged to the courageous. The future has always belonged to those who dare, not those who sit back waiting for certainty. If you look back at every great shift in history, every turning point in business, every moment when humanity leapt forward, you will notice a pattern. It wasn't the ones who had all the answers who led the way. It wasn't the people who played it safe, who stayed in their comfort zone, who shaped the future. It was the dreamers, the risk takers, the ones willing to be laughed at, the ones willing to be doubted, the ones who dared to step into the unknown even when everyone else was too afraid to move. Fear is natural. We all feel it. But fear itself never built anything. Fear never invented the airplane. Fear never wrote the software that changed the world. Fear never built a company that transformed an industry. Fear only builds walls inside our minds, walls that keep us from seeing what lies ahead. Think for a moment about the story of Airbnb. When the founders first shared their idea, they were told it was crazy. Who in their right mind would allow strangers into their homes? Who would trust complete outsiders to sleep in their guest rooms? Investors rejected them. Friends doubted them, and the market didn't seem ready. Yet those young entrepreneurs decided not to fear what was next. They dared to believe that human trust could become the foundation of a business. Today, Airbnb is worth tens of billions of dollars and has completely redefined how millions of people travel. That future was not given to them. It was built because they dared. Now, let's flip the perspective. Think about people you know who had ideas, but fear kept them frozen. Maybe it was a friend who always dreamed of starting a business, but told themselves, I'll wait until the timing is right. Maybe it was a colleague who wanted to speak up in a meeting, but stayed quiet, afraid of looking foolish. Years later, they regret it because someone else took the same idea and ran with it. The future does not wait for those who hesitate. The future belongs to those who dare to act. The danger is not in failing. The danger is in not trying at all. If you try and fail, you learn, you adapt, you grow. But if you never try because you're afraid, you stay in the same place while the world keeps moving forward. That is the real loss, not the failure itself, but the lost opportunity to become something greater. The world we live in today is changing faster than any generation before us. Artificial intelligence, renewable energy, biotechnology, new business models. None of these were obvious to the majority at first. Many people feared these changes, worried about what they would mean for jobs, industries, and traditions. But the daring few who stepped forward, who said, I will explore this, I will create something new. They are the ones shaping the landscape of tomorrow. The question is not whether change will come. The question is, will you dare to step into it, or will you let fear push you back? I often meet young people who tell me, I want to try something new, but I'm afraid I don't have enough money, enough knowledge, or enough experience. And I always tell them, no one ever feels ready. If you wait for the perfect moment, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. The perfect moment doesn't exist. What exists is your courage to take the first step. Once you take that step, you create momentum. Once you create momentum, opportunities begin to appear that you could never have seen from the starting line. If you think about it, every great journey started with a single decision to dare. The explorers who crossed oceans didn't know exactly what was on the other side, but they set sail anyway. The innovators who created new industries didn't know if people would accept their ideas, but they pressed forward anyway. Daring doesn't guarantee success, but fear guarantees nothing. That is why the future is built by those who dare is one of the most powerful forces in the human mind. It disguises itself as protection, as caution, as wisdom. Fear whispers, don't take the risk, don't speak up, don't step forward. Stay where it's safe. But in reality, fear is not a shield. Fear is a prison. It locks us inside invisible walls. It convinces us that we are not ready, not worthy, not capable. And here is the truth. Fear has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Think about how fear operates. You get an idea, an inspiration. Something inside you says, this could be my next step. Immediately, fear answers back. What if I fail? What will people say? What if I lose money? What if I lose respect? What if I embarrass myself? And before you even start, You've already surrendered to a battle that hasn't even been fought. Fear didn't protect you. It robbed you of the chance to grow. But courage is different. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to act despite fear. It's the voice that says, yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I don't know exactly what will happen, but I will move forward anyway. Courage doesn't remove the unknown. Courage simply refuses to be controlled by it. That is why courage is the key that unlocks every prison fear tries to build around us. Let me share a story you probably know, but it's worth repeating because of the lesson it carries. Thomas Edison tried over 1,000 times to invent the light bulb. Can you imagine how fear must have attacked him? Every time he failed, fear must have whispered, "You're wasting your time. People are laughing at you. Maybe you're not smart enough. Maybe this is impossible." But Edison refused to let fear have the final word. He chose courage again and again until he finally succeeded. Today, every time you turn on a light, you are benefiting from a man who refused to be imprisoned by fear. Now let's bring it closer to everyday life. Think about the workplace. How many people stay in jobs they hate because fear tells them, if you leave, you won't find anything better? How many people hold back their ideas in meetings because fear tells them, if you speak up, they'll think you're foolish? How many people stay in toxic relationships because fear tells them, if you let go, you'll be alone? This is how fear builds invisible cages. People don't even realize they are prisoners because the bars are not made of iron. They are made of doubt. Courage, on the other hand, is when someone says, I deserve more, and I'm willing to risk the unknown to find it. It's when a person leaves that job and discovers a career that finally excites them. It's when a young professional speaks up in a meeting and their idea changes the direction of the company. It's when someone chooses to walk away from a toxic situation and finds freedom, peace, and strength they didn't know they had. That is the power of courage. What's important to understand is that fear will always be there. Even the bravest people feel fear. Nelson Mandela once said that courage is not the absence of fear, it's triumph over it. When Mandela stood against injustice, he was not fearless. He was courageous. He understood that if fear controlled him, the world around him would never change. And because he acted with courage, history itself shifted. Science even supports this. Research in psychology shows that when people take small steps outside their comfort zone, their confidence grows. The act of facing fear rewires the brain. What once looked impossible becomes normal. Courage expands, and the cycle continues until what once seemed terrifying becomes natural. So I ask you, how many dreams have you allowed fear to lock away? How many opportunities have slipped past because the prison of doubt convinced you to stay inside? The key has always been in your hands. The key is courage. And every time you choose courage over fear, you break open another door, you unlock another possibility, and you create space for a future you never imagined. One of the greatest illusions people carry in life is the belief that they must be perfect before they can succeed. We are taught from a young age that the highest scores, the cleanest record, the flawless performance are what define greatness. But the truth is, perfection is a myth, and chasing it is one of the fastest ways to get stuck. The world does not reward the perfect. It rewards the learners. Those who adapt, those who grow, those who have the humility to say, I don't know this yet, but I can learn it, are the ones who thrive. Think about the world we are living in today. 10 years ago, many of the jobs people now rely on did not even exist. App developers, social media strategists, data scientists, drone pilots, AI trainers. These were not careers most universities taught a decade ago. Yet today, millions of people are building their lives on these roles. Did they begin perfectly prepared? Of course not. They became valuable not because they were perfect, but because they kept learning. They allowed curiosity to guide them, and they stayed open to change. On the other hand, we all know people who were once considered brilliant, but refused to adapt. They had the talent, the skills, even the respect. But when change came, they clung to what they already knew instead of opening themselves to what they did not. Slowly, the world moved forward, and they stayed behind. The refusal to learn is far more dangerous than not being perfect. I remember speaking with a young professional who told me she was too afraid to apply for her dream job because she didn't meet all the requirements listed. She said, I'm not ready, I don't check every box. And I told her, no one checks every box. If you only chase opportunities you are already prepared for, you will never grow into the person you're meant to become. She applied anyway, got the job, and learned on the journey. She discovered that the most valuable employees are not the ones who arrive perfect on day one, but the ones who learn fast, adapt quickly, and bring fresh energy to every challenge. History is full of examples that prove this point. When Steve Jobs first started Apple, he was not an engineer. He didn't know how to build computers by himself, but he was willing to learn, willing to surround himself with people who knew more, willing to adapt his vision as reality unfolded. His greatness didn't come from perfection. It came from relentless learning. Even science proves this. Psychologists have studied what's called the growth mindset. People with a growth mindset believe their abilities can be developed through dedication and effort. They embrace challenges, persist through obstacles, and see effort as the path to mastery. Research shows that these people consistently outperform those with a fixed mindset. People who believe talent is static and success comes from being naturally perfect. In other words, the learners keep moving forward while the perfectionists stay frozen. Now let's bring it to everyday life. How many people avoid starting something because they tell themselves, "I don't know enough"? Someone dreams of starting a business but says, "I need more experience." Someone wants to write a book but says, "I need to be a better writer first." Someone wants to switch careers but says, "I'm not qualified yet." What they don't realize is that the qualification comes after the first step, not before it. You learn as you go. You grow through the process. Waiting to be perfect before starting is like waiting to swim before entering the water. It doesn't happen that way. The learners are the ones who change their lives. The learners are the ones who, instead of saying, "I can't," say, "Ah." That small word yet makes all the difference. It turns impossibility into possibility. It shifts the focus from limitation to growth. And when you adopt that attitude, doors open, opportunities come. Life expands. So remember this, the future does not belong to the perfect. The future belongs to the curious, the humble, the willing. Those who are ready to learn, unlearn, and relearn will always find a way forward, no matter how uncertain the world becomes. Every single one of us will face challenges. It doesn't matter who you are, how successful you become, how comfortable your life looks on the outside, challenges will always come. Some people see challenges as a curse, as something to fear, as a reason to stop. But the truth is, challenges are not designed to destroy you. Challenges are designed to shape you. They are not roadblocks, they are stepping stones. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is not whether challenges come, but how they respond when they do. Too many people waste their energy running away from challenges, trying to avoid discomfort, trying to avoid the storms of life. But storms are not just meant to scare us, they are meant to strengthen us. Just like a muscle only grows when it is tested with resistance, your character, your vision, and your strength only grow when life pushes back. If you never had resistance, you would never become strong enough for the future that belongs to you. Think about the stories of great innovators. When Elon Musk was trying to build SpaceX, the company failed multiple rocket launches. Millions of dollars went up in flames. Investors pulled out. The media mocked him. Most people would have stopped. Most people would have said, "The challenge is too great, the risk is too high, the pain is too heavy." But instead of fearing the challenge, he used it. Every failure became data. Every setback became information. Every difficulty became a tool to make the next attempt stronger. And because he refused to run from the challenge, SpaceX eventually succeeded. And today it has transformed the entire space industry. Now, let's make it personal. Maybe your challenge is not rockets or billion-dollar companies. Maybe your challenge is paying your bills, or raising children alone, or starting over after losing a job, or facing rejection when you finally gather the courage to pursue a dream. These challenges feel heavy. They make you doubt yourself. But what if the very thing you fear could be the thing that builds you? What if the challenge you are facing right now is preparing you for a future version of yourself that you cannot yet see? I once met an entrepreneur who told me his first business completely collapsed. He lost his savings, he lost his confidence, and for months he felt like a failure. But when I asked him what he learned, his answer was powerful. He said, "I lost money, but I gained wisdom. I lost comfort, but I gained courage. And those lessons built the foundation of my second business, which is now thriving. The challenge he thought would destroy him actually became the training ground for his breakthrough. It's the same in every area of life. A student who struggles in school but keeps trying learns resilience that becomes useful far beyond the classroom. An athlete who trains through injuries builds not just strength but mental toughness. A parent who struggles through sleepless nights raising a child develops patience, endurance, and love that cannot be taught in any textbook. Challenges are never wasted. They always leave you with something, if you decide to use them. Research even shows this. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth. After facing difficulties, many people report becoming stronger, more resilient, more grateful, and more focused on what really matters. It doesn't mean the challenge was easy. It means the challenge transformed them. The fire that they thought would burn them down actually refined them, like gold tested in flames. But here is the key: you must decide not to fear the challenge. You must choose to use it. If you run from it, it will chase you. If you fight it, it will grow you. The same challenge that causes one person to quit can cause another person to rise, depending on their perspective. So the next time a challenge comes into your life, instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "What is this preparing me for?" Instead of saying, "This is too hard," say, "This is my training." Instead of running from the storm, spread your wings like an eagle and let the storm carry you higher. Fear and hope are both powerful forces, but they pull us in opposite directions. Fear shrinks our vision, closes doors, and makes us retreat into safety. Hope, on the other hand, expands our vision, opens possibilities, and pushes us forward into the unknown with courage. What most people don't realize is that both fear and hope are rooted in imagination. Fear imagines the worst outcome, while hope imagines the best. The one you choose to focus on becomes the fuel that drives your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your future. Fear says, "What if I fail?" Hope says, "What if I succeed?" Fear says, "What if they reject me? What if they support me?" Fear says, "What if I lose everything?" Hope says, "What if I gain more than I ever dreamed of?" The circumstances may be the same, but the perspective changes everything. People who are ruled by fear become prisoners of hesitation. People who are guided by hope become pioneers of possibility. Take a look at the lives of people who have changed the world. They were not people without fear. They were people with extraordinary hope. Martin Luther King Jr., when he stood on that stage and declared, "I have a dream," was surrounded by fear. Fear of rejection, fear of violence, fear of failure. But hope spoke louder. Hope gave him the courage to imagine a world that did not yet exist, a world where equality could be real. That hope ignited millions, and history itself shifted. Even in everyday life, hope has the power to transform. Consider a patient diagnosed with a serious illness. Fear tells them, "This is the end." Hope tells them, "There is still a way forward." Many studies have shown that patients with hope recover faster, fight harder, and respond better to treatment than those who give up. Hope doesn't cure the illness by itself, but it strengthens the will, and the will can make all the difference. Hope fuels resilience in ways fear never can. Hope is also what keeps entrepreneurs alive through years of struggle. Behind every successful business, there are nights of fear, of doubt, of near collapse. But what keeps them moving is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of hope. Hope that one day their idea will work, that one day their sacrifices will pay off, that one day they will look back and say, "It was worth it." Without that hope, no business would ever survive the early storms. Now, think about your own life. How many times have you let fear silence you? Maybe you didn't apply for that opportunity because fear said you weren't good enough. Maybe you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up because fear said your voice didn't matter. Maybe you didn't take the leap toward your dream because fear said you might fall. And yet, on the other side of that fear, there was always a possibility that things could have turned out beautifully. That possibility was hope waiting for you to choose it. Research in psychology confirms that optimistic people, those who choose hope, tend to live longer, perform better, and create stronger relationships. Why? Because hope releases energy. It changes how we approach problems. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," hope asks, "What's the next step?" Instead of freezing in fear, hope moves forward in faith. And when you take even one small step forward, opportunities start to appear that fear could never let you see. The beautiful thing about hope is that it is contagious. When you carry hope, people around you feel it. They are lifted by it. They start to believe again, to try again, to move again. Fear isolates and divides people, but hope unites and multiplies energy. A hopeful person can walk into a discouraged room and shift the atmosphere simply by daring to believe in what is possible. Fear may be loud, but it is heavy. It weighs you down. Hope may begin as a whisper, but it grows into a force that lifts you higher than you ever thought you could go. And in the end, life always rewards those who choose to believe in possibilities more than they bow to their fears. My friends, life is not about waiting for the perfect moment. Life is about stepping forward even when the moment isn't perfect. The next chapter may look uncertain, but uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. So I leave you with this: the only thing you should fear is standing still. Everything else, face it, fight it, and turn it into your future. Thank you.